Welcome to Honest Money, your best guide to financial freedom. I'm Warren Ingram, the author of a few best-selling books, and I'm also an award-winning financial planner, and I've helped thousands of people on their journey to financial freedom. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I am here to share my experience and the best ideas that I've learned, and I hope these ideas help you on your journey to financial freedom. Honest Money is proudly sponsored by OUTsurance. If you're questioning how much you're paying on your life assurance, make sure you SMS LIFE to 30165. Not only will OUTsurance call you back to discuss your death, disability, and critical illness cover needs, you'll also get a quote to match your unique circumstances. OUTsurance. You always get something out. OUTsurance Life is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's apply. 50 cents per SMS. Welcome to another episode of Honest Money, and you know, it's called Honest Money, so I have to be honest and say I'm completely intimidated by the guest we've got today. He is definitely one of South Africa's genuine superstars, and you know, when I do the research for our shows, I try and understand who I'm talking to and where he comes from and sort of his background, and I look at this and the list of stuff I've written here about what you do in your life and what you have done, and I'm sure what you're going to do is so long it fills more than one page. So let me just start by saying welcome, DJ Sbu. It's incredible to have you on the show, and I'm so thrilled to have you and really appreciative that you're willing to come on and share your insights with our listeners and tell them a bit about yourself and about your views on the world. So DJ Sbu, I've just seen you've released a new song. Congratulations. Did you record that in lockdown?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and thank you very much for the opportunity to have this chat. It's always awesome for me to connect with people like yourselves, because it's another opportunity for me to learn. As much as you invited me to share, but I always believe creating relationships like this with people that are like-minded. You know, it's always a great opportunity. You can never know what may happen in the future with the people that you meet. So I'm really honored to get this opportunity. I recorded the track just before lockdown. You know, my approach right now, I left the music industry in 2012, and I haven't been doing music for 8 years. But this year I decided to form a new label and then work on a new album. So I'm working on a new album that's going to be out on the 4th of September. But I released this single last week, Friday, which is getting very good remarks. After having been around for almost a decade. But entrepreneurially, for me, I kind of felt if there's one thing that I'm good at and I don't have to put in much effort, and it's a gift from God that I know that I do possess, is the talent to make good music. So I kind of felt my businesses, my startups are now starting to walk. So I've got the freedom and the time to go focus on my creative side, which is creating a new album for a lot of the people that follow my work. A lot of them have been asking for music. And during this lockdown, I've also been writing a new book, which will be my 4th book. So that's what I've been doing during the lockdown.
Fantastic! It's unbelievable, and you know, just for people that are that might not know everything about you, as you say, you're an author, and you know, I was talking to you off air about your public speaking. You know, I think if you ever get bored of music, you know, getting on a stage and telling people about hustling is easily a career you could do around the world as well. And then we're about your energy drink business as well. Just incredible that you've got this massive diversity of experience and skill sets that you bring. You bring, and it would be a mistake to say that you're just one man with one act. And there it is, Mo Fire. So I have to say I'm kind of a groupie, and you know, I think that's probably not what you should be doing on an interview, but I'm a big fan. So you know, you're an inspiration to literally millions already. And well done, but I guess it's time for me to ask you some questions as well. So the one thing I wanted to find out, was what was money like growing up for you?
I never knew money. I think in the community that I grew up in, it was never about money. Especially when you're a kid, you're not even aware of money. You just are exposed to these conditions that you are growing up under. And you need to remember, I'm born 79, so I'm a kid that grew up in the 80s. South Africa was different from how it is now. I remember the smell of tear gas. I remember we used to call them amahipo, those military trucks, army trucks that would be driving around the township, soldiers. There'd be political violence, and we'd be seeing on TV, they'd be talking about Mandela, and we didn't know who that guy was. We were just kids, But if there's anything that came out of our environment, and I speak for a lot of people that are like myself that come from where I come from, it was warm. It was family, it was warm, it was neighborly, especially in the 80s. The neighbor next door would punish the kid because the neighbor is also treated as a mother. The famous African proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child. I grew up in the 80s under that type of an environment. Although we were poor, I think in the township, everybody were not even aware that we were poor. We were just growing up, and it was just, we made something beautiful out of poverty. I mean, when other kids would play with toys and be buying, pushing beautiful toy cars, us would be pushing bricks, but we'd still have fun the same way. We'd create kites using plastics. So we mimic some games that we would see either on television, or some games would be created and they'd be popular in every township, but we just use the little resources that are around us, whether it's a madrati or wood or metal, aluminium, steel. We were very creative, and that's the environment that I grew up under. Growing up under that environment, which wasn't necessarily much about money, and you were a kid, you're not exposed to that. Then you start getting a little bit older. As you start traveling high, man, you start seeing that other people's lives are different. When you start visiting other people, you can see that other people wash in their house in a really big bath. When we have to wash, it's a small plastic. I don't know what the indishi in English is.
Just a tub.
Yeah, and outside. I mean, you have to go outside and you have to put the water into the kettle and boil it. And remember, at the time there was no electricity, eh? There were no tarred roads in the township. It was a different township from how it is right now. I only started getting exposed to money when I went to boarding school, from high school, when my parents would send me pocket money, where I started budgeting to buy groceries, tin stoves. I'd buy fruits, vegetables, I'd buy things to cook, meal, and we'd put them in a big trunk. Those blue ones, I don't know if you remember them. For any kid that went to boarding school, they remember those really big metal trunks. And I went to a boarding school in Pretoria, so I spent a couple of years of my life in Pretoria. So those were the years I started having a relationship with money.
Okay. And with a background like that, if I were to ask you what financial freedom means now, what would that mean to you?
I think for me, my responsibility, because I'm in the public eye and I've got millions of young people that look at me, I was very lucky that from when I started doing well with my entertainment career, I just started wanting to give back immediately. And I haven't stopped. I haven't looked back ever since. And that was early 2000s, 2004, 2005. We're in 2020 now, and I love it. It's just a great feeling to pour into other people's lives, and stretching my entertainment career and the success that I had, I kind of felt obligated to go and contribute to my township and just be some form of a role model somehow. But I mean, I'm not perfect, especially when I was younger. I was out of order. I don't think I'm the only one. I'm sure even yourself in your 20s, you're not the guy that you are now,
100%. My history will be littered with many more mistakes than successes, that's for sure.
Same here. And that's the thing though, I think a lot of especially young people, they're not aware that all these glorified stories that they see online, in the movies that they read about, etc., on social media, those people don't share their struggles. Everybody goes through a struggle, and I think they've failed more than they've succeeded,
Yeah, and I think you're 100% right. It's one of the things that scares me about social media. It's a really powerful tool in the right hands, but it does create an impression of our best life all the time. and as you say, you and I both know that our best life doesn't happen every day. It's often many more bad days than good days. And that's, I guess, what makes us appreciate the good days. But there are always bad days, and they're probably our best teachers. That's how we learn. We don't learn from the success; we learn from our failures.
I always say that that's totally true, because being an entrepreneur is not the glam. It is solving problems, is dealing with issues, is managing people, leading people, is dealing with clients. It's a lot of work. That's why you have to fall in love with it. You have to be passionate about it. That's how you have to choose what you love doing. And if young people can be aware that, or if more of us who are entrepreneurs can use these platforms to share, just like what you're doing with this podcast, sharing information around money and how you can better your young listeners around their relationship with money, learning from people that are older like us who've made mistakes before with our money issues. We are able to share with you, share with them, and they're able to not repeat our mistakes, those that care to listen and act or use the knowledge,
I mean, I think that's the power of a platform that we have, is that we can share knowledge, and so one of the questions I get a lot, and I'm glad I can ask it of you now, is a lot of people would say to me, how can I be a successful investor? How can I be a successful business person? And I guess for you, you could cover that, and entertainer as well, and kind of media personality. Now, what would be the thing that you would tell people? How do they start, and how do they become successful?
I write about it on all my 3 books. I talk about it on my talks. I usually never give advice on things that I don't know of, or I'm not an expert in. The usual advice that I give is always based on my own perspective, or on some of the things that I've been able to learn, some of the things that have worked for me, some of the mistakes that I've been able to do. So I use my story as a blueprint to give out inspiration to young people. So when somebody says they want to start a business, they want to get into entrepreneurship, I first would ask them about their background, who they are, their behavior, their mannerisms, just their attitude towards life, their vision, their goals, what they want to achieve, what do they love doing, what are they passionate about. And then from there, I'll drive the conversation around encouraging them to learn how to sell. Do they know how to sell? Have they sold anything before? If they don't know how to sell, the quickest way or the easiest way to get into entrepreneurship is selling product. And what's nice about selling product, it doesn't have to be your own product, but what's nice about selling product is that it teaches you basic mathematics, basic accounting. It teaches you to know that all of this money is not yours. Some of this money has to go back into buying more product, which means it's the money that goes back into the business. And yes, some of it might be your profit, but if you want to grow quicker, rather invest it back, etc. Those little skills is what I would preach. And because my demographic and the people that I mostly speak to are younger people in our townships, I never assume people know information or people are intelligent. I always dumb down my speech, and I always use the fact that they can relate to me because of the work that I've done through music and TV and radio. I use that as an advantage to communicate now these serious messages on how I can grow them. So then I'd encourage them to start learning how to sell, and encouraging them that they can sell anything. It doesn't even have to be a product that they own. They don't even have to sell a physical product. I start encouraging them about online opportunities that are out there. I start telling them about opportunities that are on Amazon. You can be an affiliate marketer. So there's digital opportunities that are out there for young people. I mean, I give them ideas like you can even sell data with the networks, find out information how you can be a third-party seller or fourth-party seller and grow from there. There's opportunities. DSTV empowers young people. You can get yourself a little van. Some of them come to me already having a van and saying, I don't have work, I just have this van that's parked in my house. What do you think I can do? And I give them advice like, approach people like DSTV, go be a DSTV installer, go apply, find out what information they need or what do they need from you. So I give them practical, easy ideas and things that they can act on immediately. And then from there, slowly, I would communicate information on an ongoing basis, but most of my information is repetitive because I believe in my community. If you want the message to go across, you must be as repetitive as possible. Don't assume everybody has heard what you've said.
It's incredible, and I I think the thing for entrepreneurs and a lot of young people is to understand that success doesn't come in one night. It takes 10 years to get lucky and have your instant success in whatever it is. And I think that message is so powerful because it's small little things that you do every day of every week of every month of every year, and one day you look back and you go, oh, look what I did, look what I've achieved. But it might not be one thing. It might not be one big thing that just suddenly tips you over. It'll be great if we could all start an Instagram or a Facebook or whatever the deal is. But actually, most of the best entrepreneurs start by doing little things every day, and they learn. And I think it's amazing listening to parents always want their children to go and study to become a lawyer or a doctor or accountant. And that's okay, but one of the things I'd say is, don't get into the job of selling time. Don't quantify your life in an hour that you charge for, because that means when you want to spend time with your family or your children or whatever, you're gonna quantify that in money you could have earned. Selling is possibly the most powerful skill that we could have, because we're always selling ourselves in one form or another, whether you're in a career working for somebody or you're selling stuff or you're selling time or goods or services, etc. The better you can be at selling, the more successful you'll be. And selling shouldn't be looked down upon. It should be a skill that we teach everybody all the time. It shouldn't be something you're embarrassed about.
People forget that these companies that they're working for are also selling. Whether you're working for MTN, they're selling products there. You're working for Standard Bank, they're selling. You're working for Liberty or Hollard, any one of these companies, everybody's selling, And I always try and make people aware that don't fall into that trap of being ignorant and looking down upon people that are selling, walking past them when they're selling vegetables in the corner because you're wearing a tie and going to work in town. But that company that you work for, your boss is selling. He's selling on a larger scale. And a lot of us, because in my community where I come from, in Black communities, we've always had this conversation around self-hate, around issues that stem from that, and how we were brainwashed from back in the day, which what history has affected us. We're still living those unfortunate circumstances even today, because they've had a long-lasting effect till now. I remember even when I came out with my product, my own community was against my product. But because I had been successful in music before and I understood the concept of persistence, I figured that if we don't stop, we keep persisting with it, eventually there's going to be the first crowds that are going to adopt it, or some people who believe in whatever I have to sell to them, who'll just jump in and support it even immediately just because they love everything I have to offer. But that's a small percentage of work. And the time, there's others who then adopt a little bit later. They say, okay, let me try this out. And I'm sure you know that concept. And then everybody else later, they adopt it when they can see the train is moving and everybody is buying it and it's starting to grow, which is what is going on right now. And that's the message that I want to give to entrepreneurs, to younger guys, is that's what's going to happen to you too. In the beginning, even if you come up with proof of concept, don't only have a business plan on black and white on paper. It's always better for you to have proof of concept. And it's always better when proof of concept, you've used your own money. You've invested your own money. You put together that prototype, whatever it is, whether it's a concept or whatever little business that you're starting, whatever great idea you have. The reason why you have to spend your own money is because you are showing of how much you believe in yourself. And there's a language in which you're communicating to potential people that you might meet in the future who might help you grow without even to say anything. The fact that you've used your own money to get this thing started, then a lot of people see you with a different eye. You're not just somebody who's got a great idea, but you are somebody who's willing to put your money where your mouth is, but you believe in it so much that you are pushing it even when you don't have the big means and the resources. But it's an idea that you are showing that it can work before you just believe in a black and white business plan. Because some business plan can be great, but when you start going into the market, the product doesn't sell or the business doesn't take off for 3 years, etc., and it ends up getting shut down because it looked good on paper, but you didn't go out to the market to try and test if there is really a niche.
I mean, that's an MBA class in one answer just there, and and people get it for free. So what's the one thing that you would tell entrepreneurs not to do? What's the one thing they should be careful of doing when they're starting out?
When they're starting out, they shouldn't be extravagant with money. And they must remember that now when you're getting into business, you're starting something that is not yours. When I was an employee at first, or when I started out as an artist, as much as I started out with my own label, because I didn't have this mentality or this knowledge that I have now, I would spend money on beautiful things, beautiful clothes, expensive cars, etc. And even the way I was learning business was not the way it is now, because then I was new to fame, I was getting popular, I was making all these hundreds of thousands, and I'm young, and I've never seen money before in my life, And then all of a sudden, it's not only just money, it's fame. And it's not only just fame, it's your music playing in all these different cars everywhere you go. Your life just literally changes, and that does something to you. I was very lucky because those days, I didn't really get out of order. But fame, especially when you come from the environments that we come from, people that look like me, can be dangerous. It can be a drug. And I'm just very glad and I'm blessed that I wasn't one of those young people that played around with their blessing or with their fame,
So, I mean, it's a powerful lesson. If we look at, especially, I think in South Africa, sport is always an example of that. Some of the big sports stars that made it big when they were young, and you look at them, 10 years after their careers are over, and they've only got sad stories because they didn't realize that they were custodians of something. It wasn't theirs just to spend and blow up, and as you say, fame is great, but it doesn't necessarily last unless you're working at it, and maybe the thing I'd add to that is, it's always important to be humble, no matter where you are in life and no matter how much you've achieved, because, life happens and the wheel turns again. And if you're humble, people remember that. And I think you're a great example of that. And well done. It's,
I appreciate it. Thank you for your words. And I can say to you, I'm one of those people that one day I had a couple of millions, and then the next day I had nothing. And then I built myself back up. And then a few years later down the line again, messed up a bit again, but came back up again. And, I admire that spirit in me of relentlessness. And I was not even aware that I'm this type of person. I was not even aware that I'm just this great person who believes in themselves so much so that I can say, stop the salary, stop getting employed. I'm going to go employ myself. And I'm going to go start things that are going to employ hundreds of people. That takes guts to do that. And only now I look back, I was like, geez, I was brave, bro. I was very brave. And every time I got knocked down or I got ridiculed or I lost money, I'd always just come back up even better, and I'd do the most craziest things. I'd go to the street, Warren, I'd go to the streets, I'd go sell my drink, I'd go to the N1 highway promoting my drink. I'd get onto the SAA flight, bro, and hold my mofo I can and tell them, hey, this is the next big thing. You know what? Some people thought, this guy's got so much confidence. Clearly, he's got a lot of money backing him. There has to be some people behind it. If only he knew that there was no. I guess, but what I'm trying to say, Warren, is that's how you young people need to be with your vision, with your dreams. That's how hungry you gotta be. You can't just be normal. Yeah, sometimes you feel like doing it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you go to practice or training or you study, sometimes you don't. Yeah, on weekends or friends or... Your vision, your dream has to consume most of your time.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried dating somebody who's about to write their accounting board exams? They'll tell you they don't even have time to date because they're so consumed in their work because they want to graduate and finish that degree. It's the same thing with success. Till today, Warren, you can't even say that, I come from this lifestyle that I come from, but I live a very modest life and very private. And all I'll show you on my social media is my work. And I share with my followers how to become successful, how to treat people, what type of energy to spread out there, how to carry yourself when you're out there. But at the same time, I'm having fun doing the things that I love, which are music, radio, videos, creating content, marketing my company. But it's a great feeling to 5 years ago to be fired and today to be an employee at a media company that I co-founded and be able to do what I was fired for at the SABC with no problem.
So some of the best success stories started with, and they fired me, and that was the beginning, not the end. So you have so much to share with people, with entrepreneurs. Is there somewhere that people can find you on entrepreneurship? What can we tell them to? How can they look for you?
So they can check out our website. That's www.leadership2020. So we started a company. One of my startup companies is a company called Leadership 2020. So that's leadership2020.co.za, leadership2020.coza. Why did we call it Leadership 2020? Because in 2013, when I was transitioning from the music industry and getting into business, entrepreneurship, the main goal when we sat down on that dinner, I remember when we started this company and how we conceptualized the name. And the argument in the room with my other business partners was, why the 2020 in the name of the company? Yeah, let it be in a vision. And it doesn't have to be the name of the company. And we're like, no, people need to know when they're reading the name of our company what our vision is. And our vision, Warren, was to create young leaders in entrepreneurship, was to make entrepreneurship cool. And I won't stand here in 2020 right now and say entrepreneurship is cool or is a language around government now, finally, eventually, and young people are starting to get into it. I won't claim to be, or we as Leadership 2020 won't claim to be the ones that have helped, that have made that happen. But what I can say is that a lot of the young entrepreneur leaders right now that are looked at by young people as having to be doing great were mentored by our Leadership 2020. And with the books that we've been writing, with the talks that we've been giving, the universities that we keep visiting, and all over the world where I keep traveling and speaking and recording all of these talks and putting them out there on social media, is to keep spreading that narrative. And it started from then in 2013. The main goal is by 2020 to help young people to have become leaders in their own right in business. And when I look around now, it's happening. And it's always great to feel like you're a part of something. And there's a lot of us. I mean, I can name so many guys that were so passionate about entrepreneurship and teaching young people and promoting that narrative. So much so that I think a lot of us today, we sit down and we are proud of the conversation. Now, it's a conversation you can't avoid. It has become even worse now. Let me say it's become better now that there is the lockdown. I think it's starting to sink in people's heads that actually this entrepreneurship thing, I think, is the way. And I always say to people, I'm not encouraging you to leave your job, but I always say to you, start a side hustle, because you knock off at work at 5. And a lot of the time, you're just going to get home and watch TV, or you're going to read the newspaper until your wife gets home, or you're going to go to a bar and have some drinks and only get home 3 hours later. But just 1 hour every evening can be so sufficient towards you growing your side hustle, and you put in more hours on weekends after you've got time with your family or your kids. That is what I've been preaching, and that is what I've seen a lot of young people doing. And I think we've had a success stories I'm coming to share, to say, I was at that seminar, you spoke about this, I put it into practice, this is where I am now. It's not easy, but I'm glad I made that decision, etc. And that's what we want to see. So the vision now in 2020, moving ahead, is 2050. What type of Africa would I like to see? That's my question to myself and my team. What type of Africa would we like to see? And in the next 30 years, we believe we played our role and we've achieved our vision of making entrepreneurship cool and achieving the 2020 vision. Although it's still the beginning, because entrepreneurs are not properly funded by the government, entrepreneurs are not properly skilled. But I would also like to applaud incubators out there and other initiatives and organizations that have been there in helping young entrepreneurs, especially, you know me, Warren, I always talk about my community. I'm very biased towards I always want to thank people that are empowering my community. It always feels great because you can never really help enough. We need more of us, you know?
Yeah. It's I mean, it's a great vision to have, and I'm thinking 2050. So you'll be around about 70 or so by then. It's about prime age for a president.
I'll be obviously I'll be retired, and I think I'll be enjoying raising my family empire, my kids and my grandkids. And if there's one thing I always pray for every day, is I pray to parent well. You know, I wanna be those type of elderly people that look back to a beautiful, well-structured, wealthy, well-mannered, respectful, inspirational family. That's what I want to build. And I do know that it takes time, but I'm up for it. I guess that's why they always also say, be careful of the person that you choose as a partner, because they can make or break you. So if you know that your vision is going there, and that's the narrative you're preaching, and you're a people's person, what you do, even in relationships, you know, they always say, once you've got the vision right, it affects everything else that you do, because it also affects the person that you want to have next to you. And for me, I always put that into consideration, even when I'm sitting on a dinner table on a date with a sister. If I see that this person would not necessarily be aligned with where I'm taking my vision, I don't think I even waste their time, you know, because I'm very strict with where I'm going with my life. I'm very humble about it. I'm patient about it. I've got a vision, and I want to create a dent on this planet Earth. When I'm gone, I do know that I'm going to multiply. I'm already multiplying because my teachings are on these books, that they're on black and white, which means they're going to exist forever. And my videos of me hustling out there and showing young people entrepreneurship are going to exist forever. So I'm somebody who does not have to only write the story or read it for you on my audiobooks, but I'm somebody who's lived the story and recorded it. So it's out there for you to go learn or study it in your MBA class, in your marketing class, in your sales class, in your business class, etc. I won't even say that we are genius. I think we were just very relentless, and we believed in ourselves. I think that's the reason why today people invite us on to institutions like your Harvards, your Stanfords, etc., and people give us the respect that they give us. I guess it's because the vision is purpose-driven, that we want to help people, and it's for people, and it's genuinely for people, because we've been consistent at this journey for so long. But then number two is that the journey is long-term, which is what we're preaching in our communities, that guys, let's think long-term. Let's have long-term goals, you know?
Yeah. I'm looking at our time, and I think we've blown our time out by about 3 times that we. So I think I'm going to have to cut it there. And I just wanted to wrap up by saying, you know, the one thing I could add to that is, you know, people that are listening to this, and don't make excuses. You know, don't give yourself a reason not to do something. Don't wait for government or wait for someone to take action for you. You know, the difference between those who make it and those who don't is often someone gets out of bed and makes something happen for themselves, and they don't just sit there waiting for someone to tell them what to do. They just do it, and they ask for forgiveness later, but they get up and they go. And when you ask them in 10, 20 years' time, what was the reason that you were successful and the friend next door to you who's maybe cleverer and had more advantages, it's often just that resilience that you're talking about. And I think for me, the addition to that is they just got up and they did it. You know, they didn't look for an excuse. They looked for a reason to get going. And that would be my summary. DJ Sbu, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. It was incredible to have you on, and thanks for being so generous with your time and your insights and your knowledge. And I wish you all the success in the next 30 years. You know, you really are an inspiration. Thank you.
Warren Ingram, sir, I'm humbled, and thank you so much to all of your followers who listen to this podcast. And I just want to tell everybody that the minute you realize how great you are, you're going to be so shocked at what you are capable of. And this goes for everyone. I do know there's always a conversation, are entrepreneurs born or are entrepreneurs created? Everybody or anybody can be an entrepreneur. The car guys are entrepreneurs. The mamas selling vegetables in the streets are entrepreneurs. The Starbucks boy moving with the taxi drivers are entrepreneurs. Anybody that can come up with an idea and convince other people to give them money for their services is an entrepreneur, which means you are an entrepreneur wherever you are. So even if you're not starting a business, in your job or your day-to-day studies or whatever you have, a 9 to 5, mentally, you got to think entrepreneurially. Once you start thinking entrepreneurially, then it unlocks everything else. It unlocks ownership. It unlocks caring for people. It unlocks, long-term creating wealth, etc., which is something I think every family in South Africa should be having that conversation. But thank you so much for having me. And to all my young people out there, let's go out there and hustle in better ways now. I've shown you how to hustle hard in the streets. You are living in a technology era. It's time for you to learn from our mistakes or from our inspiration and hustle smart. We hustled hard. You go out there and hustle smart. Good luck. See you at the top.
Thank you for listening to Honest Money. If you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to me on Twitter. My handle is @WarrenIngram. Don't forget to subscribe. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Chat soon. Honest Money was proudly brought to you by OUTsurance. Got any questions about how much life cover you need? Try the handy life assurance calculator at outsurance.co.za. Want to discuss more? Remember, a friendly consultant is waiting to talk to you. Simply SMS LIFE to 30165 for a callback. OUTsurance, you always get something out. OUTsurance Life is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's apply. 50 cents per SMS.